Assume that we're live, and we are live. So there we go. Yay.
I believe we are live.
Welcome in, everybody. It is 2:30 in the East, 11:30 Pacific time, and welcome in. We are doing our weekly live training. We are kind of making this into a recurring meeting, if you will, recurring training every Thursday. So welcome in. Please, we're doing our presentation today is the Art of Persuasion, how to sell with style and integrity. I'm Jamie Skoltedi, and this is Mark Canty, and we are going to present to you. Please post in the chat any questions that you have on this topic, and we will take your questions at the end. So I'm going to turn over the presentation to Mark and welcome you all in. And let us know where you're coming in from as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. And it's a pleasure to be here with everyone. As always, it's always fun. So relax. We're going to dive into a great topic here, but we're not going to take up your whole day, but we're going to give you some things to think about. So do me a favor and give me, just for fun, play with me. And you'll hear me say sometimes play in the sandbox with me. So give me a fist bump or a high five. I know we're in a virtual environment, or you can even put it in the chat too. And give me a little emoji there. So I'm just going to punch at you with a fist bump, and I'm going to give you a high five as well. So Jamie, are you doing along with me?
I did it along with you, Mark. Yes, and if you don't find emojis, just put in hello. That's fine. Yes. Just let us know that you're here.
So let me ask you a few questions. As you pursue your business goals, do you think you're going to have to deal with people? Would you say speaking with people and building relationships is actually one of the most important roles you're going to have to play? Do you feel the most persuasive people in your life are also the ones you have the greatest respect for? Think about those questions for a moment. And let me ask you one more. How many of you feel nervous, apprehensive, and maybe even scared about speaking with prospects about your coaching services? Go ahead and let us know. Type me in the chat if that's you.
Are you moving?
Thanks for playing in the sandbox and participating. You know what? This is something that we all experience, and I want to talk a little bit more about why this is important. Here's the reality, folks. You will need to talk with people, and naturally, they will not always share your views or be readily willing to change their minds on a particular topic. So you will need to formulate and deliver your message to elicit a change in mind. You will need to bring them to a new level of understanding. Reality is, you will need to persuade them. And if we look at the definition of persuade...
Hold on, Mark. Are you moving your slides? Because we're not seeing slides.
I am, but they're not changing. Why are they not changing? Let's go back. I'm sorry. We're going to have to pause here for a moment. We may need to start over.
Maybe can I move them along with this? No.
No, that's really odd. Sorry, technical difficulties. They were working a moment ago. Let me take them off, and then I'm going to put them back on again.
Perfect. Yep, just let me know when you're ready.
Everyone.
Okay, we're just getting the slides loaded up here, guys. So just hang in tight.
Hang in there a sec. For some reason, we lost control of the slides. Let's come back here. Now.
Sorry, I pulled that out. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Is that working now?
Yeah, well, I can. Yep, it's moving.
It's moving?
Yep.
It's moving.
Great.
So let's backtrack a little bit. We were talking about how important it is and asking you the question, how many of you feel nervous? I think we got some responses there, even though you might not have seen the screen. Shows that everybody's listening to me, at least early on in our quick little presentation here. But thank you for participating. And let's carry on. Why is this so important? Well, as I said, you'll need to talk with people, and naturally, they're not always going to agree with you. In fact, that's why they're talking to you, because they're not sure. So you're going to need to formulate and deliver your message to elicit that change of mind. In other words, you're going to need to persuade them. You're going to need to bring them to a new level of understanding, somewhere to a place where they aren't currently. If we look at persuade and the definition of persuade, it's based in Latin, and it's a verb, and it means to move by argument, entreaty, or expostulation to a belief, a position, or a course of action. Also to plead with or to urge. So it's not really talk about what we want to do when we're working with somebody. We want to bring them over. We want to urge them to take action on the idea that we have. So based on this, may I suggest that you get your notepad handy, whether that's on your computer or on your desk, and that you get ready for what we're going to talk about today. Because what we're going to talk about today are a few things: the human brain and how it makes decisions. It's the key to being persuasive. Mistakes and myths about persuasion. And we're going to give you 5 agreements that make working with you a no-brainer. So this is going to be a big takeaway for you when we get to this section. So please take notes and be ready to jot things down. Before we carry on any further, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Mark Canty, and my function in Upskill Your Business is to be your clarity coach, to help you become crystal clear on every part of your business as you work through and you implement and grow your coaching business. And I'd like to introduce my partner, Jamie Scultetti, who is our hands-on strategist and our doer. Much of it behind the scenes and a lot of it up front, working directly with you. Jamie, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
So I am a marketing strategist. Did not start out to be a marketing strategist, but I had an online business that I was looking to market and to get some clients. And so I learned a lot of strategies, and now we help our clients to do the same and attract clients to their business. So that's me.
And you can learn lots more about us. I'm sure you've been receiving correspondence from us, and if not, you can find out more about us on our page, both our website and our Facebook page. Suffice it to say, we've been at this for quite a while. Jamie and I formed our partnership a little over 5 years ago, and prior to that, both of us were in the business for even a decade prior to that. So we've been around the block, and we've served, shall we say, a few clients. We're well over 300 clients now that we've been working with, and we're looking forward to sharing some of the knowledge that we've gleaned over the years. We help coaches, consultants, and professionals to transition, to move by leveraging their natural and learned strengths and skills, and then building a coaching business. Why? Why would you want to do that? So you can earn a full-time income, but not just any type of income, not income from having a job or thinking of it as a job, but an income from doing what you love to do, without the stress, without being bogged down into day-to-day tasks of what a job might entail for you. So over 5 years, the Upscale method has helped hundreds of talented coaches transform themselves from being technically proficient as coaches with expertise and knowledge to share into strategic business owners, so that they can get what they want from business and from life in the fastest and easiest and most direct way possible. All of that, of course, without being stressed and overwhelmed. Did we lose our
slides? Are not moving. That's why I removed them. They were, I don't know if you had a slide up, so it was blank.
Nope, I did not have a slide up. Okay. So thank you. And there we go. I missed again. I forgot to click, or something went down on us. Thought we had a technical difficulty for a minute there, but it was me.
Yeah,
it was my finger. Not moving properly. So let's move on to our next piece of information here. The type of people that we serve. We basically serve new and established coaches, consultants, and professionals who are in transition. So they're moving into this space. We have a very strong desire to make an impact. People who have a strong desire to make an impact on their own world and create a full-time income through their own coaching business. So let me ask you some more questions again, if I get my slides right here. Do any of these statements apply to you? I'm completely satisfied with my life and my circumstances. This is not a slide. Okay. So I'm just asking some questions and hoping that you're listening with me. I'm completely satisfied with my life and my circumstances. My work and business performance is sound. Nothing needs to be done. I have achieved all I have wanted personally and professionally. Now, I think I can guess the answer to these questions, but if any of them are true for you, you don't even need to be here. And I would be surprised that you'd be even be on this call. But, in fact, I encourage you to stop right now because nothing we say will be of benefit to you. However, if any of those statements are not true for you, please stick around because we've got some really good stuff to share. And let me ask you this question. When you think about your business and your coaching and how things are going, can you relate to this little A to B squiggle? Do you feel sometimes that you're upside down, right side up, going in the right direction, going backward? Can you identify with that? Can you relate to that feeling? Do you feel like this person here? Maybe you feel like a marionette where your strings are being pulled in all kinds of different directions. If you agree with that, then please type yes or give me a thumbs up in the chat. Thanks for playing in the sandbox with me, by the way. How many of you feel like this when it comes to figuring out how to speak to a prospect and close a sale? Again, type yes if this is how you feel, like you're being pulled in different directions and you're really not sure and you don't feel like you're in control. Thank you. So here's what we want to do. Today, we want to show you a way to not be confused. We want to show you how to get control of the process and actually feel good about it. Create the fastest and easiest path to get people to know, like, trust, and respect you. And that's by being persuasive. That's our goal today. And what we want to do is straighten that line out for you to get you moving in the direction that you want to be in so that you feel like this gal at point B really is a professional and in control. So how many of you want to feel better about selling? Want to be more in control and less stress? Hey, type yes in the chat for me. By the way, I think Jamie mentioned this earlier. We are going to be doing a Q&A at the end, and we're going to be expanding upon the art of persuasion. So please jot your questions down in the chat right now if you have any. We're collecting them. Jamie's collecting them. We'll make sure we address them kind of in order as they come in. If you don't worry about it. When we get to the Q&A part, we can have a nice open discussion on the art of persuasion. So let's talk about our first point here, which is the human brain, how it makes decisions and why it's the key to being persuasive. So the human brain's most important function is to build patterns of information so it can respond automatically to similar patterns in the future. That's from a book called The Keys to Persuasion, which I highly, highly recommend. So think about that for a moment, because that was a real aha for me the first time I read that and understood that. It's this idea that, wait a minute, if the brain is actually storing information so that it can respond automatically in the future, then if I'm speaking to somebody in the moment, I really need to structure my communications in a different sort of way. Hopefully I've got my slides right here. I don't. I'm out of order again. I apologize. So let's talk a little bit more about the brain. I've got this on a slide that's not going to show up for you. So we'll talk more about the brain. So there's three parts of the brain that you need to be aware of. The lower reptilian brain, this is where the fight or flight part is located. Now, what you need to be aware of is that it reacts without conscious thought, and it's primarily about sensing threats to survival. That may seem kind of odd when we're talking about the sales process, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute. And one of the things I want you to think about is when you think about the reptilian brain, the first thing it's thinking of very instinctually and quickly is, do I get out of here as fast as I can? Or am I strong enough to take on this predator? Now, if you think about that for a moment in terms of some of your interactions, particularly if you're in an environment where you're trying to persuade or convince somebody, have you noticed that this comes up sometimes? Sometimes you see somebody making excuses where they need to leave right away, either in person or on the screen. Oh, I've got another appointment. I got to go. I double booked. I only have 5 minutes. Or you see somebody being aggressive with you where they're all of a sudden saying, well, what makes you say that? How come you're so right? What makes you so right about all this? How come I'm not better than you are? Have you had interactions like that? I know I certainly have. What is that telling you? It's telling you that this person is in their reptilian brain. You've triggered that fight or flight instinct. I want you to tuck that away and keep that in mind. That statement I just said, you have triggered that fight or flight instinct. The second part of the brain is the middle or the mammalian brain. That's why we're called mammals. And it's the emotional brain. Powerful and motivating emotions lie here. And it's also where our cooperative and our herd instincts lie. It keys on emotion, intuition, and connection. And the third part of the brain is the upper human brain. And it's all about logic, and it generates conscious thought and actions. Now, here's a really important thing that I want you to file away here too, is most think this is the most important brain to appeal to when it comes to persuasion, when it comes to selling. But that's not reality. And I'm going to explain in a moment how this all works. The second thing I want to talk about is decision making and the way the brain works in terms of making decisions. And again, I apologize, my slides got a little out of order here. Researchers have determined that the brain functions much more on feeling, intuition, and emotion than on reason. The general consensus among the neuroscience community is that the brain functions, decides, and reacts to stimuli on a subconscious and emotional basis. What percentage of the time? Again, play with me in the sandbox here and just jot down a percentage there. What do you think the brain uses when it comes to deciding and reacting to stimuli on a subconscious and emotional basis? What percentage would you say? What would you say, Jamie?
I don't know. 30%?
90% of the time. And this is from literally decades, maybe even we're even going beyond decades in terms of research that scientists, psychologists, neuroscientists have looked at the human brain, what's going on. 90% of the time, it's reacting based on that lower reptilian brain and the middle brain, the mammalian brain. Isn't that interesting? Only 10% of our thoughts, decisions occur, and learning as well, by the way, from conscious, pure logic, just 10%. And yet, what do most of us do in the sales process? We throw statistics, we throw data, we try and persuade somebody based on logic and based on that kind of information. And we're only appealing to 10% of the brain. Can you see the reason behind persuasion not always working if that's where you're putting all of your ammunition, if that's where you're putting all of your efforts? So here's the key to being persuasive. Now, again, coming back to neuroscience, information is processed first through the reptilian and the mammalian brains, and then passed on to the human brain, if necessary, for further evaluation. So I'm going to pause again to give emphasis on that. The information you share is first going to go through the reptilian and the mammalian brains. And then, and only then, if it's needed, will it go on to the logical brain, the modern brain, the brain that we think of as the upper brain, to actually make a logical decision. This is really, really important, because if you're spending most of your time trying to convince the human brain, then you've already lost the game, because the reptilian and the mammalian brain have already decided. They made their decision and moved on. So for persuasive selling, the reptilian and mammalian brains are the key, with the mammalian brain being the most important brain and the one you want to pay the closest attention to. Are you tracking with me? Jamie, is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Despite popular notions to the contrary, the brain does not operate like a computer or any other machine. Your brain is not a logic machine. As it turns out, emotions and feelings about something or about someone occur before you have made any attempt at conscious evaluation. That's by Richard Rustack, and from the book, The Brain Has a Mind of Its Own. And I'm trying to think of the first book I read from him. It's about left and right brain. It was from 20 or 30 years ago. Brilliant author again, another highly recommended book. So hopefully I'm starting to shift some of your thinking and persuade you to this idea that logic ain't going to work. That's not what's going to get you to your end goal. When you want to persuade somebody and you want to work with them on a level where you're connecting, where they trust, or at the very least, they don't distrust you, you need to address these lower level brain functions first. And sometimes foremost. Sometimes they're the only thing that you're going to be addressing. So what are we talking about here? The first part of the brain, how do we get people out of that fight or flight instinct? The first thing we need to do is smile and let somebody build rapport. Let somebody be comfortable. Take the pressure off of that individual by letting them know they're in a safe environment. A couple ways to do this. I know one of the ways that, and Jamie, I'm going to throw you on the spot here, but what's one of the things you do when you first jump on a meeting to make somebody comfortable, that they don't have to feel like they have to flee or fight you?
Usually it's finding a commonality. It's like, I noticed this about you on, let's say, on your profile, or I see the transformation that you help your clients to make. So there's some kind of compliment, if you will, or just an acknowledgement, right?
Yes. Yeah. Putting the focus on them. Exactly. An affirmation, a compliment. Even if it's something as simple as saying, I love your earrings, or that's a really nice tie. Things like that can really put somebody at ease. They can help them relax. What's one of the other physical things we can do that's very easy that we hear about all the time? I'm doing it right now.
Smile.
Smile. And you may have heard, now in today's environment, by the way, you have a wonderful tool called your computer, and it has a camera and it has a microphone. And if you're still doing your sales calls and things like that on telephone, I really encourage you to adopt this technology, because it opens up your ability to persuade to a much higher level when you're actually able to see facial expression and connect with somebody face to face. So smiling, making eye contact is critical. These are subconscious things that immediately, in an instant, tell somebody whether they're safe, whether they're in an environment where they don't need to worry about fight or flight. So very quickly, you can establish that. You can establish that benchmark of we're in a safe environment. One of the other things that I know that Jamie is very keen on and likes to do, and I do as well, is lay out an agenda. You'll notice that when we started the talk, I talked about 3 things we're going to cover. Let people know where you're going. Right, Jamie?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So important.
Lay out the journey. What's our next half hour? What's our next hour? What's our next 15 minutes going to look like together? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to go through with you? These all help create an environment of safety and security with the person you're talking to.
And it outlays expectation too, just what they can expect. So there's not, oh my gosh, you're just going to hit me over the head with your course, your program, whatever that is. It's really, I'm just laying out what you can expect. It's like you said, Mark, it's a safe place. It's a safe environment. And no, that is not going to happen. We're not going to bash you over the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing I want to bring up, sorry, before I continue on with some of the myths or the challenges, is this idea of the second brain, the middle brain. And the idea of emotion is we want to work in an emotional state. People make decisions based on emotions. We all do. Well, why would we buy one car versus another? Why would we buy one house versus another? Why would we buy one piece of clothing? Why would we work with somebody versus another? It's not based on the data. It's based on how we feel, that 4-letter word, feeling. And we need to be tying into that and always bringing people back to that feeling state. Is what is the emotion that they're trying to satisfy by working with you? So we want to key in on that. Now let's talk about some of the mistakes and myths about persuasion. So one of the first myths that comes up is that you need to do a hard sell. It's also a mistake that people make. I got to come on strong. I got to be aggressive. I got to really push for the close. It doesn't work. Strongly stating your position and just trying to force it on somebody, it just antagonizes them and puts them in a defensive state. It puts them into that fight or flight position. So no hard selling. You need a great argument. Again, this is not about arguing with somebody. The secret to persuasion does not lie in presenting a great argument. We've all been taught to use solid data and rational arguments. It doesn't work in the sales environment. It doesn't work when we're trying to build relationship. It doesn't work because the brain doesn't make decisions this way. Number 3, you only have one opportunity. Hey, if I don't get it now, they're lost forever. Persuasion is a process, it's not an event. And the larger the shift in thinking and doing, and the bigger the payoff, what we call the core result, often the more time and repetition is needed. We need to layer and build the relationship in order to have a persuasive impact. So if you're thinking you need to do it all in 15 minutes, and particularly the more important your program is, the bigger the payoff. If you're selling a high ticket coaching program where you want to work with somebody for 3 months, 6 months, whatever the period of time is, and you're going to be charging them $10, $15, $20, $30,000, that's a big decision. Isn't that worth investing time to build the relationship and to allow your persuasion to occur over time? I certainly believe it is. Number 4 is never making concessions. The reality is quite the opposite of this statement. Giving concessions in a negotiation often leads to better, more sustainable outcomes. Concessions demonstrate that you are listening, that you care, and that you're flexible. Selling is not a win-lose combat. Instead, it's a mutually beneficial series of agreements that leave both parties better off in the end. So keep that in mind. A little tip, side note here for you. Figure out and work with a coach as to what are your negotiables and your non-negotiables, so that you have the ability to make concessions throughout your process of persuading somebody. Lastly, one of the big myths is that you need to be an extrovert. You need to be somebody that's out there. This is just not true. Extroverts and introverts can be equally persuasive. The difference just lies in their style and their approach. While extroverts, may be naturally at ease speaking, introverts are more adept at asking questions and listening. So learning and adopting these natural strengths from both extroverts and introverts makes for a very persuasive skill set. So think about how you can move in and out of those spaces and be both an extrovert at times and an introvert at times, and play to your strengths. Most importantly, play to your strengths. Now let's talk about the 5 agreements that make working with you a no-brainer. And this is going to be built into your persuasion skills and the way you present your program to the person that you're talking to. If you can establish these 5 agreements, then it's going to make working with you pretty much a no-brainer. Okay, so think about how you want to build your language and your conversation with somebody around this. Agreement number 1 is they agree they want better outcomes than they're getting now. If you don't have that agreement, why even continue with the call? Why even continue with the discussion? If somebody thinks that they have it all together and they don't need anything more, then you're definitely not going to persuade them to any change whatsoever. So you want to make sure that they agree they want better outcomes than they are getting now. Agreement number 2, that getting a better result is actually possible. This is one many people skip over. They kind of think it's a no-brainer, but it's not a no-brainer at all. Many times, particularly when you're in the coaching environment, you're going to find people are at a very low level of confidence. They're at a low level of belief. They're starting to doubt their ability to get what they want. So we need to sometimes affirm them and build up that emotional bank again by letting them know that getting a better result is actually possible, so that they do believe that moving forward. Because again, if we don't have that second agreement, if they don't even believe it's possible, why continue the conversation? So it's really important that we gain that agreement. And we're layering the persuasiveness and the persuasiveness of our argument and not our argument, but our proposal and what we want to do with them by getting these agreements in place. Agreement number 3, there's a specific problem that is preventing them from getting the result that they want. And there's a part 2 to agreement 3. You can help them solve it. So this is really important. We want to tie down. We don't want, oh yeah, I can't get there, but I really don't know how or whatever. This is where we want to spend a lot of time getting into conversation about what is it that's holding them up? What is the problem that's getting in their way and preventing them from getting what they want? And this is also where you get to present your solution, where you get to talk about how you can help them solve that, how you actually have experience getting other people to that place and through that roadblock, over that concern. Agreement number 4, the problem is costing them in some serious way. Again, This is critical. If it's not costing them, if it's not costing them in terms of relationship, physically, maybe their sleep or their health, if it's not costing them financially, if any of those combinations, one or the other, or any of the above all apply, then again, why continue to have the conversation with you? This is where we establish value, is that this problem is actually costing you. And the longer you wait, the longer you don't solve this problem, the more it's going to cost you. So we want to establish the value of the problem and why it's important for that individual to move forward. Agreement number 5, it's unwise or impossible for them to solve this problem on their own. Now, this is actually kind of a no-brainer, but it's really important to structure your language in such a way that you get agreement on this. This person is coming to you, you're having this conversation with somebody because they've been struggling with this problem and they haven't been able to solve it on their own. So why continue to try and DIY something? Why continue to beat your head against the wall when you've already identified that it's impossible to solve it on your own? Obviously, you don't want to use that kind of language, but you want to structure this and ask your questions in such a way that people come to the aha moment where, yeah, you're right. You know what? I've been trying and trying and trying to solve this on my own. But if I don't have new information, if I don't have assistance, if I don't have the ability to go externally from where I am now, I'm going to stay stuck forever. And it's going to continue to cost me. So this is the 5 agreements that we want to get to. They agree they want better outcomes than they're getting now. Getting a better result is possible. There's a specific problem that's preventing them from getting what they want, and you can help them solve it. The problem is costing them in some serious way, and it's unwise or impossible for them to solve this on their own. Give me some feedback here. How many people find that information is helpful and will help them be more persuasive as they work with people? Thank you. Thank you for your feedback and for participating and playing in the sandbox with me. You know, we live in a world that's way too full of spectator sports, and we pay them millions and millions and millions of dollars. And while everyone sits in an armchair. So I encourage you to stop being a spectator and start being a participant. Step out and play the game. You can also see, too, why these agreements then make the conversation so much easier. When we come at this from kind of a bombastic approach where we're trying to push ourselves on somebody, we're trying to convince them and beat up on them that we're right, we're naturally going to trigger some of those emotional and even those primeval states of fight or flight. When having a good conversation about outcomes and getting better outcomes and understanding what might be in their way and how much it's costing them by not solving this problem, and it being unwise or impossible for them to solve this on their own, can you see how there's a natural flow when you start to look for these agreements and you start to build a relationship based on this? So my question for you is, how many of you, before we started today, thought you already had a decent sales process, but now realize that in order to have the client list you really want, you need to have a well-designed strategic sales process? Go ahead and play with me in the sandbox by giving me a thumbs up or a yes. So without a sales process and without a strategic sales process that ties into the ability to persuade and the art of persuasion, then all you're doing is winging it. You're hoping and maybe even praying that the next person you speak to wants and agrees with you, wants what you're offering. That's no way to build a business. We need to have a strategic approach. And again, the upscale method helps talented coaches transform into, that strategic thinking so that you can get what you want from your business and also from your life. So I want to carry on here with a couple more things for you. Sorry, did I just skip there?
Yeah, just a note to mark your calendar that every Thursday at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, we go live here in whatever platform you're on. We were able to stream to several different platforms, and the kind of content that you can expect from our live classes are, we're going to teach you strategies around client attraction, pricing and packaging your services, creating your compelling offer, and sales psychology, which is this training today is representative of that, and so much more. Plus, we're going to share important updates and announcements of what's working for us in our business to consistently enroll clients. So join us every Thursday. Mark your calendar.
So we're just going to finish up this commercial that, that hopefully we can convince you and persuade you to stick around, but also to join us each week. And I got one more slide here on how to, get notified about this, but know that the conversation is going to continue. I've got some more tidbits for you. So please don't bounce or leave right away, because we want to wrap this up and give you some key points to take away from this. But be sure to sign up for our VIP notification list. That way you'll know when these are happening. You'll receive, notifications of live trainings, but also if you miss them, you'll get notified that there's a recording there for you too. And by the way, as a special thank you gift, we're going to be sending you your ideal coaching career, which was a webinar that Jamie and I did where we hosted a group of some of our top clients and went through the concept of designing your ideal coaching career. It was really powerful, and we still refer to it all the time. So we want to send you that as a special gift. So thanks so much for
upscaleyourbusiness.com/VIP-list. That's how you get that free gift and all that.
Let me go back to that. Yes, upscaleyourbusiness.com/VIP-list is the way to get on that. So let's get back to our training a little bit. And as I asked you before, but I'm going to ask you again, tell me if the content that you're seeing, you've got value from it, and that you want to learn more. Type impact in the comments if you want to learn more about this particular topic, and also learn more about how we can help you become more persuasive in your process. Please let us know, and we'll pick up on that if you leave that in the comments section. Carrying on, let me take you through this concept of persuasion and where it fits in your business, because in isolation on its own, it's really not going to serve you very well. So I want to show you this. We talked in the beginning, and I showed you this graphic, if you will, of the marionette, and then also the person, the business gal here who has it all together, who really has control of her life and her persuasion skills too. And there's a pathway to do that, but it's bigger than that. It's just one part. I want to put it in context here. It's just one part of building a successful strategic coaching business. So let me put that into context for you and see if we've got the right graphic up here. So what we're talking about here is essentially step number 9. So that's where we get into that stage. And what a lot of people think is, oh, if I just have those skills, that all I need to do is start anything. I can sell anything to anybody. But we all know what those types of people are like, right? They're not those people that we know, like, and trust. They're those people that, what's that word you use, Jamie? It starts with an S. Smarm.
Oh, smarmy?
Smarmy. I always, my brain goes to what's the Indian shawarma? Shawarma?
Oh.
It's really delicious. But no, so Jamie's expression is smarmy, like the used car salesman kind of approach. That's not where you want to be. Would you agree? You want to be persuasive when you have something that you believe in. You want to be persuasive when you believe in yourself, when you believe in your offering, when you believe in your product and your service. So that's why we save these sorts of skills in this teaching for step number 9, where we go into selling skills, selling with style and integrity, and being able to persuade somebody who needs what we have to offer in terms of building a better life for themselves. Step number 9 is where that fits, but we have to go through a foundational concept. And this is what we do. This is why we want to introduce this as the concept of selling within a 9-step process that we take our clients through. Begins by laying a good foundation for your business, then building consistency into what you do in terms of having a proper management style and a proper business structure. And lastly, it comes to how do you enroll clients? How do you get that whole process working for you so that it is scalable, so that it makes sense, so that you're making a full-time income and more. Most people just want to dive into 7, 8, 9, but the reality is if you don't have a solid foundation in place, you're never going to get there. So I hope that gives you a little bit more perspective. Today's training is just, one step. It's one small part of, it's actually not phase 1, it's phase 3. I didn't update this slide in our 9-step process. So this is the part about enrolling clients. And we get into that and go into that in depth with our selling with integrity and style, the training and role playing that we do in that particular program. So if you're ready to learn more about this, if you want to implement a proven step-by-step method for consistent client attraction so you can expand your impact and increase your income, without being inauthentic or pushy, go ahead and book a game plan strategy with us. We'd love to talk with you. There's going to be no pressure. There's going to be, in a sense, very little or no pitch at all. We want to talk to you about a game plan for helping you move through whatever it is that's holding you back. If through that process, we decide that it's a good idea for us to work together, we can talk about that too, but we leave that in your court and you'll be in control of that process. Want to thank you for joining us today. How did we do on timing today,
Thank
Jamie?
Actually, quite perfect. Yeah.
Quite perfect.
Right on time. Yep.
We shoot for 30 to 40 minutes to kind of wrap up the initial concept and of what we're talking about, so that then we can leave it open for the Q&A, so that we can bring up anybody that has questions. I'm not sure if anybody's put any in the chat. I don't have that screen in front of me. Jamie, do you have any in the chat?
No, I don't have any questions. Just thumbs up. So awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
And we're here. We've still got a few more minutes. We've allotted time. So if anybody does have any questions right now or would like to understand anything more about persuasion or how the brain works, then by all means, go ahead and throw your questions in the chat. I'm happy to address them.
Nope. That's
Nothing.
it. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here.
Jamie, anything else that you want to throw in while we're here?
No, that's it. Just, if you are interested to learn more, the slide is still up there, upskillyourbusiness.com/game-plan. And Mark and I would both love to meet with you and see where you need some assistance and kind of getting your coaching business in the place you want it to be. So
definitely. And if part of that game plan, if what you're thinking right now is really, I just want to get my sales act together, by all means, get in touch with us. Jump on the calendar and we'll put a game plan. We'll help you put a game plan together to be more persuasive and to help you improve maybe it's your closing, maybe it's your ability to reach out to people and get them engaging with you. We can talk about that too. So whatever is important to you, we can cover in that call. Thanks, Jamie. I see you took care of the slides there.
I did. Yes.
Okay. So that's going to be a wrap for today. Thank you all for joining us. And continue to leave your comments in the chat. We look forward to hearing from you and to seeing you on a strategy session, a game plan session sometime soon.
Have a great day, everyone.